Push one in the chat if you can hear me. Okay, cool. I got the confirmation. Thank you for the confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is Black Politics, episode 795. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust. Also, there'll be a link in the chat for the Zoom button. If you want to join, make sure you update your Zoom client first before joining the panel. All right, so had a little bit of a 24-hour hiatus before we got flagged off of YouTube the other day. And just want to bounce back and get back into this as we promised that we were going to do on MOT stream. We're going to go back into the fact finding as we did before, and we are going to do a review of Bernard Riley's stream from earlier today, okay? Bernard Riley had a stream that was called, actually, let me pull up the stream so that everybody can see it. I think that's really important. The browning of America, blacks slowly being replaced by Hispanics. All right. So let's get into this. Let me share my screen actually, so that you all can see what I'm looking at. I've already spoken to Bernard Riley, so it's not like I'm stealing his stream from him. So also let me drop the link in the chat. That's really important. All right. This is Bernard's stream from earlier with the Hoodservative. I don't want to get too much into the weeds of what Hoodservative has to say and what Bernard is saying, but I definitely want to get into the discourse that was happening on the panel between Little Big Nate and the rest of these let me play this real quick. Let me admit some of the people that are joining in too. All right.
Shut up! I'll give you an answer. You see, this nigga's a clown, dog. Get the fuck out. I need one of you guys to explain. I just told you I had an answer. How is this? You think your shit ain't gonna feel no heat, nigga? You crazy? Oh my God! Quit crying, nigga. Quit crying. All me and my niggas do is build shit. Okay?
All right, Nate.
That's what we do.
You said you had an answer to.
I have an answer, Bernard.
What was okay. What was the question? I want to know what the question is.
It's all this whining and crying. What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? I have an answer for it.
Hey, you ain't heard nothing like that from my voice.
Yes, I have. Yes,
okay,
I
all right.
Respect, huh?
Okay, all right. I just want somebody to make clear what the question is so we can hear what Nate's answer to the question is.
I got an answer. And some of y'all ain't gonna like it.
Are we clear on what the question is?
The question is.
All right. Let me know if you can hear this in the chat because some people are saying they can't hear it.
Yeah, I can hear it here because I'm on the stream with you. But we've got to understand the 15-second delay. But there was a lot of coming into the middle, screaming and trying to get the question down. But I'm not sure if they can hear it, but I can hear, and I'm on the stream with you.
All right, just push one in the chat if you can hear what was just being played. Oh, okay. All right, let's continue.
It's basically, what do? All is lost. There's nothing we can do. Both
bitch,
parties are bad. Both wings of the same bird. Blah, 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 blah.
Don't do that passive aggressive shit, cuz.
You don't accept that that's the question. Okay, so Rogish, what was the question that you asked?
I didn't ask a question. He already went in about the whole conservatism shit. My one thing was when he speaking of racism, when Hood Conservative said, all right, well, I guess I got to be a racist, whatever. That's not being racist. That is actually being what it means to be a conservative. You are, but the thing is, you're not just standing for a skin color or anything like that. Your people are attached to a culture. But the thing is, Black people don't want to be connected to one another because the system pretty much looks down on that. I get it. But the thing is, that is what is the greater value overall, better for your people. Not just what the system is offering you as its gold or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? But the thing is, motherfuckers tend to always want to cook the motherfucking hood that's always getting preyed on. You feel me? And it's like, wait a minute, let's keep this shit a little bit balanced there, mate. Right?
Hey, can
let
I
it burn? So if that shit burn, your shit gonna burn, cuz. Believe it.
So, cuz.
I
have an answer though. I have an answer for you.
Can I get the solution real quick before I go?
Yes, I'll be happy to once I'm able to.
Give me 2 seconds.
Go ahead.
Here's what's dividing I'll talk the ghetto communities: drugs, alcohol, no family system for the young men. We have to raise our young men and educate them to be men. Give them trades, put them in trade schools, put your kids in trade schools, and teach your young women to be women. Definitely arm yourself, grow your own food. Facts. You know what I mean? Stop relying on the political system to give us something, because guess what? They're in it for their family. You know what I mean? Facts. Unless you become a political figure yourself and you can get up there and see how corrupt the system is, because it's corrupt. They're Freemasons, they're Illuminatis. They've been doing this for hundreds of years. They have this stuff already planned before it even goes down. So what's our best choice to what?
I have an answer.
You got illegal immigrants in your, hey man, guess what? It's never going to stop. I guarantee you it's been happening for hundreds of years, and it's going to still happen hundreds of years later. So what do? We educate them on being good American citizens and working for their families.
Can't stop. Trump reduced illegal immigration tremendously. What are you talking about? It can't stop.
He reduced it. Did he stop it?
So it's an absolute.
It'll never stop. I guarantee you.
See how ridiculous this is? Yeah, because he can't stop all of them from coming. Let millions of them come.
This is national.
Is that what you're saying?
Get out of here.
This is ridiculous.
They need a new qualified slave class, and that's who these motherfuckers is. All right, that's all it is. Get the fuck out of here.
Like I said, I have an answer. All right. The answer is Black men, like-minded Black men, the only Black men I fucking give a shit about, like-minded Black men are going to have, politics is a numbers game, my friend. You're going to have to get 70% of white America has abandoned the Democrat Party now. They're not going to, even the white suburban college-educated woman is bailing on the Democrat Party. They are so perverse and demented with what they're promoting today. You're going to have to put aside all your anger.
This is really interesting, right? You had, the Freedom Caucus bringing guns into the Capitol in Washington, D.C. And none of these guys had anything to say about this. Okay. None of these guys had anything to say about the sick and demented, shooting up malls in Texas, Buffalo at convenience, at supermarkets, in South Carolina, where he stays at a church where Black people were praying at. How come, all the sick and demented is allocated for what's considered to be the left or Democrats, and liberals, but when it comes to right-wing extremism, that doesn't happen. Never hear that from him. And he's in a place called the Black Manosphere saying all this.
I mean, you could do all this when you're ahistorical, when you're talking to people who also don't know anything or care anything about current, recent history, and anything else. The problem is these people. The problem is them. Like, I would love to have these people on. Like, I would love to have even Little Big Nate on. You talk about where he get those statistics from, but just go over any mass shooting and watch him try to drag the conversation toward LGBT or abortion, because that's all they got. They're not here to make anything better. They're here to talk about the same old, and that's it. I mean, but you have to understand that these people are not conservatives. They're just complaining about what they perceive as liberal outcomes. But these are American outcomes. You have a 6-3 Supreme Court. You don't want transgenders actually participating in sports? Your Supreme Court could actually do something about that. You want to put Jesus on the $1 bill? Your Supreme Court could actually finagle a way to do something about it. Your Supreme Court made abortion still on the table as an issue. They got rid of it at the federal level, but they protected access to the pill. Did anybody in this actual sphere cover that? No. You want to know why? It goes against the narrative. The narrative is if we take all the rights away from women, they're just all of a sudden going to accept the type of men that they wouldn't have accepted under any other circumstance. That's the problem. They don't believe in government overreach unless they're overreaching on the woman to take her freedoms away so that way they can settle for them. So all this stuff is apolitical, historical. It doesn't make any sense. And what happens is when you have such people who don't know anything about the process, let alone participating in it, they come in with their own understanding of how things work. This is a conspiratorial actual conversation, even though the things that Little Big Nate is saying can be true, but you got to be able to have some historical knowledge behind what you're talking about in order for it to be true. So all this stuff is kind of filled with half truths and everything else, man. So I don't know how they're going to be able to get there to their end goal, because you have to have these people explain their actual end goal and what's their way that they're going to get to it. So that way you can see how full of crap these people are in total.
All right, let's continue playing this.
The white man, and you're going to have to realize these conservative white men agree with you 60 to 70% of the time. Politics is a numbers game. You're going to have to side with those gentlemen where you agree and work together to get pieces of legislation passed and fund the candidates that you want. You see, in Black America, which is largely Luciferian leftist, Black people are told what's going to happen by their Congress people and their senators. They're celebrities, and they say, yeah, nigga, this is what's going to happen. Maxine Waters.
They worship their representatives. Y'all don't worship your representatives. No, wait.
Let me finish,
you're calling
please.
an accountability.
Let me finish,
You're
please.
calling accountability to something that
Let
needs to be a specific change.
Let him finish.
Republicans do not worship their representatives. Those
I know they don't. That's the point I'm making.
Right. So, but they worship those motherfucking.
Why don't you let me finish?
And all that. So how are you going to get them out of that worship?
Why don't you let me finish? Like I said, Black Democrats worship the CBC. They go on Jimmy Kimmel. They go on Stephen Colbert. They go on Bill Maher. They're fucking celebrities. Okay. Black congressional people tell blacks what's going to happen. Over here on the right side of the political spectrum, we punish the elected representatives that don't do what they're supposed to. Donald Trump and his MAGA movement.
That's a lie. Huge
yeah, who's we?
I'm about to prove it. You
Black conservatives.
Shut up!
Go ahead and prove your point. Go ahead.
MAGA primaried hundreds of Republicans, state and federal. 91% of the primaries done by MAGA people were won by MAGA representatives. The Freedom Caucus, which is the largest group of quote unquote conservatives in the United States Congress, they're now 1/3 MAGA. So your nonsense that I'm lying, I just proved it wrong.
All right, let me prove
MAGA
it wrong.
MAGA ran hundreds of people primarying these establishment Republicans, and 91% of the time they won. You don't know what you're talking about.
Let me say one thing. 2 seconds. Donald Trump put in gun laws that was unconstitutional.
Tell me the name of the gun laws.
Bump stock bans, and he did a switch for your switches too.
I'll look into that.
And he did free speech law.
Well, wait a second here.
Here we go.
MAGA this, MAGA that, but you got to look into it. I thought you were following all of this.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
I
Like,
thought you
they
were
don't
following all this.
understand what MAGA is. Like, MAGA don't include you.
Yeah.
It's never included you. The problem is that there is no 60 to 70% of things that you agree on with those conservatives over there, because the primary thing that they believe is that you don't have equal rights with them as the cornerstone of their actual conservatism. So how can you say that you agree with 70% of what they actually believe in after that? Remember, there was a guy who spent 5 years in prison over child support. Did you see any conservative women, any conservative men rallying together to actually remove those laws from the books? The answer is no. Because they like things the way that it is, because it affects certain people more than others. So when you actually pull this individual away from these talking points with actually no type of history behind it, you just ask this person, what does MAGA mean? And what does MAGA mean before? Okay, so why do we have to go back to making America great again? When was America great for Black conservative men? I can tell you when it wasn't great for my grandfather. I can tell you when it wasn't great for my great-grandfather. In the South, there's a specific group of people who was fighting against Black conservative men. They were white conservative men, and it always have been. But like, it's just crazy that people just get away with this political misinformation and disinformation, because you have two groups of people on there. People who are on the left, people who claim they care about the community, and people who are on the right who want to remove the rights from the actual women. So how do you have these two groups of people together who can't even agree on things? And I can guarantee you that they haven't read any political party platform. How can you get these people to actually be equipped with reality? It's hard to do when you don't have a baseline for the information that's available.
Which is unconstitutional, that you couldn't talk about the Jays. He did that in college campuses.
I never heard of that law.
Look it up.
I'll definitely be looking that up.
And one more thing,
executive order policy
Trump,
kind of thing.
Trump shut the country down, and he ended the economy, and he printed $7 trillion, and no conservatives said anything about that. So
no. Donald Trump had to deal with the entire United States media, both left and right-leaning, being against him. Everything he did, if you look at 2016 before the election,
he shut the country down
all over. No. He had no choice.
I'm sorry. How is this in any way, shape, or form supposed to be an indictment? Hold on. Let me just make this question real quick, because I don't know why we're in this territory. How is what's going on with Black people and Black neighborhoods on the ground being invaded by illegal immigrants? How is this at the feet of conservatives or Black conservatives or even Donald Trump per se?
Redirection. Like, seriously, like, because with all the things you can say about Trump, one thing that you need to actually get clear is Donald Trump didn't stop the states from doing what the states did. He actually practiced federalism. Although he's not a conservative, he's more like a centrist at best. Wait, right?
I want to hear an answer to do anybody have an answer to
salesman is what he is.
So Black people have no responsibility to bear. This is Donald Trump's fault. It's the Illuminati's fault. It's anybody else's problem. It's anybody else's fault except for the people who've been voting for this thing to happen for the last 50 years.
Operates the law. Black people do not operate the law in this nation that gets power moving like that. Are you fucking kidding me? The poorest Black people, where are they going to move Black people to? They're the ones who got that political power.
Let me ask this question.
Nigga, y'all smoking.
Black people to as
come on, hey, whoa! I know y'all can hear me. All right, Rogish. I think the important part, or maybe this is the question. It's not about whether or not Black people, control all the levers of power in the government, but I think that the argument is that if the people that Black people have consistently been voting for is rolling out this thing that's harmful to Black people, so the conversation then becomes a conversation amongst Black people. Why do you support this thing? Why do you support illegal immigration? Why do you support all the politicians and everybody who's basically pandering and placating to it 100%?
Let me speak to that.
All right, let's stop right here, man. Let me share my screen real quick. All right.
After Bernard looks pretty bad.
Like MOT said, these guys are a lot of these guys are very ahistorical. Let's look at the screen real quick. Okay. This is from NPR, but this is actually on the books in Washington if you go to the Library of Congress. Okay. A Reagan legacy, amnesty for illegal immigrants. Okay. Amnesty for illegal immigrants. Oh, the Democrats, Obama, the left, liberals. No. Amnesty for illegal immigrants happened under Reagan's legacy, Reagan's administration. So what are we talking about here? But see, that's the problem with Bernard's panel. And shout out to Bernard for allowing me to, restream this because I reached out to him earlier before the stream ended and he was okay with it. This is the problem with Black male conservatives in the Black manosphere. Ahistorical, okay? They're very ahistorical. Let's read this. As the nation's attention turns back to the fractured debate over immigration, it might be helpful to remember that in 1986, Ronald Reagan signed a sweeping immigration reform bill into law. It was sold as a crackdown. There would be a tighter security at the Mexican border and employers would face strict penalties for hiring undocumented workers. But the bill also made any immigrant who entered the country before 1982 eligible for amnesty, a word not usually associated with the father of modern conservatism. In his renewed push for an immigration overhaul this week, President Obama called for, this was back in 2010, keep that in mind, it's just 13 years ago. Obama called for Republican support for a bill to address the growing population of illegal immigrants in the country. This time, however, Republicans know better than to tread near the politically toxic A word. Part of this aversion is due to what is widely seen as the failure of Reagan's 1986 Immigration Reform and Control Act. However, one of the lead authors of the bill says that unlike most immigration reform efforts of the past 20 years, amnesty wasn't the pitfall. We used the word legalization. Former Wyoming Senator Alan K. Simpson tells NPR's Guy Raz. And everybody fell asleep lightly for a while, and we were able to do legalization. So, for the people on the panel who claim to be conservative, this is the history. If we're going to have a discussion about, Democrats and the left is doing this to Black communities and Black people, Black men are under siege from, illegal immigration, the Illuminati, the Bilderberg, George Soros. No, the modern day father of conservatism. You see this right here? Okay, you see this right here? Associated with the father of modern conservatism. They're the conservative, not you. You're not a conservative. They're the conservatives, which is what we've been saying in this space for a long time. Since the 2020 election, even before that, you guys are not conservatives. You can call yourself whatever you want, but you're not what you see on screen right here. This guy right here, you are not him. And the people who align themselves with him, you're not them, okay? The policies they created, not meant to benefit you at all. This is the madness that goes on in the Black manosphere. Ahistorical, like MOT said earlier, very, very much revisionist of history, and they pretend like they can have these sort of intellectual discussions. In reality, none of it is intellectual at all, which is what I said on Art Newstall's panel some weeks ago. Okay, these are not intellectual discussions that you're having because it's not grounded in history. What's going on, Lou?
Mike, what's up? Mike, check. What's up, Mike? What's up, MOT? Salute to the chat. Salute to everybody.
I'm chilling, bro.
What's up,
man?
Chilling, bro.
What's going on? What's on Greenwood? What's going on, man? Man, Oh man, listen, I'm glad y'all I'm glad y'all on this. I had to fly out to the panel on this one, bro. Because you can't really have an honest debate with them about this because it gets too fear-mongery. It gets too attacking Black people's ignorance toward immigration and their probably instances where they ran past somebody who spoke Spanish and they didn't know if they were speaking about them and they felt some type of way about it. And in reality, it's like, you know, because like with that whole, that bill with Florida and how all the undocumented immigrants aren't working, it's like, they're not in the field. The deal is, it's like, they're like, oh yeah, that's good. Like, no, what do you want? You want us to get them fields and pick tomatoes and stuff like that? Bro, it's so much misinformation with this. Like for one, how they believe that, okay, more immigrants, that means it's less job, but more immigrants means it's more, that means the economy is growing, right? I mean, the more people you have, the more people that needs to be serviced, right? I mean, so wouldn't that in some...
it's called labor.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying that's called labor surplus. Labor surplus is an economic term. But
right.
To your point,
wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead. No, go right ahead. There's a delay between us. But
yeah, all I was going to say, because you're right on the labor surplus, but I was going to say though, but those laborers need housing, they need food, they need medical. You're gonna you know what I'm saying? So aren't they also creating more demand for things as well, for more people to work and stuff like that? That's all I was going to say on that.
Go ahead, MOT.
But they have to misinform as much as the actual conversation's happening. So people come to here thinking that they're going to get help with their actual liver woman, and then they stay for the misinformation and disinformation that happens everywhere else. Because everybody's lost on that panel about what's actually happening. None of these people live in cold-blooded, like conservative states that have ever done anything for Black people. None of those people live in those type of areas. And if they are, I would like to see them talk about it. But these people choose to live in these conservative areas and think that they're part of the conversation, so that way they don't have to be invested or involved in anything that's happening. That's something that has to be talked about. It's people who choose to live in the Texases, the actual New York cities, the actual Miami-Dade counties, the people who choose to live in these liberal areas within conservative states without being invested or involved in the actual process itself, and leave it up to those people in those areas to actually do the things for them. It's pretty much something that you have to point out to people. Because I think like the younger generation is way more politically astute than the people who are twice their age, which is great, by the way. So
yeah, there was a thing on TikTok, MOT Talk, where they were saying that the younger people, they said the younger people on social media are talking about politics and older people are talking about 50-50 dates and all this other nonsense.
Let me read this comment in the chat room from Papo Naya Shelley. Y'all niggas clearly not working for a living. I delivered a SoCal all week, and all the forklift drivers, warehouse workers, welders, engineers are non-speaking Spanish. The Black men are homeless. Wake the F up. So here's the deal.
What? I mean, that question answers itself. What?
Oh man, the thing here is this. What we're seeing on screen, all of these, what they consider to be Mexicans, right? Everybody's a Mexican to them, according to them. Anybody who speaks Spanish is Mexican for whatever reason, right? They can't be Guatemalan, they can't be, Honduran or any other Latin American country. Like for them,
Ecuadorian,
Spanish equals Mexican for whatever reason. Yeah,
everything.
Yeah, it's weird because this what they've done is they've bought into the racism as Black men to malign any Spanish-speaking person as that being Mexican. So Puerto Ricans and Dominicans are also Mexican too, right? I just saw a story early this morning about how a Puerto Rican was detained, for not having a passport.
Right, an American citizen, right? Like, it's crazy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Cut out. No, I was just I was just jumping off. I was just ad-libbing.
Go ahead.
You went south for a second, Mike, after you made that statement.
Yeah, no, just go ahead.
Yeah, I think you got a delay, Mike.
And that's the problem. It's just that people don't understand that these people are from different countries and they speak the Spanish language. They're not all Mexicans from Mexico. Like, and it's such a problem when you cannot get individuals who don't understand that baseline level of thinking, and they end up talking about things that is way above their actual pay grade. That is undemonstrated, unresearched, and they just come on and they just come out and just start hotboxing. But what they think is the problem here, it's crazy. And I go through this in real life. And as soon as they start doing that type of stuff, hey man, you gotta move away from them, like immediately.
But the thing here is the misinformation that I just want to make sure I identify is that Democrats are doing all this, right? It was Obama, it was Hillary Clinton. For whatever reason, she gets blamed for it. Everybody who's on the left is at fault for this. And they think that this happens at a local level.
Dude, Obama
what
was
you have here. No, go ahead, Lou. Go ahead, Lou.
No, I'm sorry. I thought it was the pause. I was gonna say, yeah, Obama was. They called him deporter in chief.
That's because he deported way more people
Yeah,
under
say it
his
again.
presidency than any other presidency prior to his actual coming to office. And that's the thing that the actual left had a problem with him about. But they would never know that because they're not even looking at the actual numbers. Right? And it's like, listen, the Conservative Party is a low-wage party. That's what they're about. That's what their areas are about. That's what everything is about. If you look at the South and how come it has not recovered, it's because of low wages. There's a problem that people have $200 and $300 mortgages in Mississippi because they work at Walmart. And any other state, they would be making twice the amount of money, but they work for minimum wage in Mississippi. And if you don't have any type of economic activity that happens within the state, the people who can't leave the state suffer the most. Right? So it's like you all the moments that you're having this conversation, I can guarantee you most of these people haven't left the actual city or state where they're from and went anywhere else, let alone another country. But you'll be able to figure it out pretty fast what the actual problem is in the place that you left. But when you don't leave and you get a microphone to actually just start shooting off about things that you do not know about, this is what you have happen. It's crazy.
I gotta say this. I have to say this. Speaking of Obama and what you were saying too, Mike, you know what's funny? You know how they say everybody's everybody's Mexican, but you know what? They know the Cubans though, right? They don't get Cubans mixed up because they vote Republican and all that stuff, right? But what I find, what I hate about the Cubans out of any other Latino group, the Cubans had an actual law created for them that allowed them to essentially just step foot in America and become instant citizens. And they know that. They all know that throughout, they know their grandma, their abuelas, they tios, they tias, they mom, they know for a fact that's how they got to America. And now they're voting in a way that other groups would have a harder time getting to America when they know their grandparents got to America that same way. And Obama is the one who ended that. So I'm with you on that. They always say it's the Democrats, but when you kind of look at it, the Democrats are the ones who really put a stop to some of this stuff, right?
Yeah, at least he tried to. But if you let Lil Big Nate or these other jokers on the panel who claim to be conservative answer the question, they'll tell you otherwise. And they call him the deporter in chief for a reason. He deported a lot of people, man. And so this idea that, all Democrats and the Luciferian left and all of this is just fear mongering and just, a lot of misinformation. And that's kind of the reason why, we started the Brain Trust is to get away from all this misinformation. There's a lot of guys over there who are very much invested into turning this space into a disinformation platform where you can spin a lot of misinformation. You're not qualified, or you're not, you're not required to present any cited sources. Like Lil Big Nate, I have to look that up for myself. What are you talking about, man? All of this rah, and your pom-poms out. Why didn't you look all this stuff up in the first place? Before you even jumped on the panel? You should know all these type of things if you're going to campaign for him and you're going to have your pom-poms out for him. He lives in South Carolina, one of the worst states for Black people to live in terms of healthcare, in terms of upward mobility, in terms of job prospects, and he's toting this idea that conservatism is going to save the community, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You live in a conservative state and yet you can't find a conservative woman to marry. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. What's going on, Nagone?
Nagone in the building. No, he dropped. I think he dropped out, Mike. It's only us three.
Okay.
I'm looking at the thing.
Yeah, let's finish playing the clip, man. Yeah, let's finish playing the clip.
Because when I guess it's boiling down to the how you led us there, Bernard, is what the confusion I have with the conservative brothers, especially the adamant one, is why is it so? I get why, like you said, Bernard, supporting Democrats who are supporting or pushing policies that aren't in the interest of the Black community is illogical. Cool. Why is it so obvious that all Black people need to do is become conservatives, and then in this one specific area of immigration, they don't want immigration, or say they don't, at least, and we meet minds there, or that's in the interest of the Black community. So the solution to all of this is just be more conservative, go join the conservative party, and we don't even, let me ask you guys are conservatives, do Black conservatives have an agenda that we present to the Republicans currently?
Okay, again, that's you're sidestepping the question. I mean, look, well, this,
and I can address that if you want me to.
Okay, fine, but
I think that's at the crux of it, Bernard. Though, like, what are they at? What are we really asking? That okay, cool. Democrats are for immigration, not good for us. So just go to become conservative Republicans.
No, hold your vote. Withhold your vote if they're not giving you what you want or need.
Exactly.
Like I don't.
That's not what the brother was just arguing. He was arguing that the solution is on the conservative.
Well, I reject the premise. I reject the premise that the conservatives have to offer you anything. You're the one who needs. You're the one who's getting invaded. You're the one who's got to worry about the future of your community, and you're asking me what I got to do for you. No, that's a silly thing, bro. Listen, if I'm already in the place you want to be, and you want what I have, I'm not coming to you.
Conservative. I'm agreeing with you. So you're a conservative, I'm assuming, or you lean that way. Do you have an agenda that you would present? Because you're right, they don't deserve shit. We have to have an agenda that makes sense for them to even fuck with it. No, I'm asking hood conservative because he just made the claim.
Oh, okay. You have an agenda, right? Like I said, and I'm not speaking just to your answer, but that there's a larger question about like why the conservatives don't make a bigger pitch to Black people. And I'm looking at Black people like, look at the situation you're in. How much do they have to beg you to vote for them? No, it's obvious the people you're voting for have almost none of your best interests. So what more do I have to offer you but your own safety and health and future?
I can talk about what they offer.
If I was speaking for Black people, it doesn't seem immediately obvious that the conservatives have our best interest in mind, does it?
Can I?
Fair enough. That's true, but that's a Black problem. That's not the conservatives' problem.
Can I answer that question?
Can I address this real quick? Okay. This is the problem, sir. You're bringing the same mentality that people like you had over on the left, where the Luciferian white liberal throws you little bones and little overtures that get you all excited, yet they never produce anything. You're expecting all this placating to your Blackness.
Where did I say placating?
Let me finish.
I said an agenda.
I'm going to get to it.
Well, I didn't say placating. You're mischaracterizing what I said. I didn't say.
Well, no. I'm describing it. What the white Democrats do is placating.
They do.
He got to
but
build
I
up
didn't say a
before
solution.
he got to build
So
up.
stop arguing with me. Stop
You're
arguing with
making
me and let me
a
finish.
straw man argument.
Let me
with
finish.
yourself. You
I'm
don't
not.
like
No,
Democrats.
you won't
get
let
it.
me finish.
He got to build up a run before he goes. So go ahead.
Thank you.
Build up. Get that
Like I
passive aggressive
said,
shit going.
You're over there on the left. Gavin Newsom and other filthy, dirty, white devil liberals throw all these little meaningless overtures out to you, get you all excited, then they pull the rug from under you. And you're so used to having white liberals placate you that skin suit wearing pasty skunk, Nancy Pelosi getting on one knee with a kente cloth around her shoulders, which makes stupid niggers on the left, it makes their heart palpitate. And then you come over here saying, well, how come you white Republicans ain't getting on one knee with a kente cloth? Because they're not gonna. Let me tell you what they offer. Bro. Let me tell you the agenda, okay? That should appeal to you if you're an intelligent black man who's invested in this country and you have a desire to win. Let me tell you. Low taxes should appeal to you tremendously. Low capital gains taxes so you can reinvest your money in your business and not get raped with a 30% tax rate as a business owner should appeal to you. A closed border should appeal to you. All the undue pressure that these illegals put on our school system, put on our system of jurisprudence, put on our law enforcement system, you should be happy. Also, all this illegal immigration lowers wages. A lot of black people are at the lower end of the economic spectrum when it comes to wages, and your wages are drove even lower by these fucking illegals.
Let me say something about that.
Let me ask you this.
Let him finish.
All right, man. You know, MOT, what do you have on this, man?
All right. So what he don't understand is that between March and like July, I deliver hops to Budweiser. But I don't deliver hops to Budweiser. I deliver hops that is made to make Budweiser beer to places in Michigan, places in Ohio, places in West Virginia, places in actual Pennsylvania.
The race for Kentucky governor is set.
Hold on a second. All right, I'm back. So when he's talking about immigration, these people have Trump signs, and below the signs are "Si habla español." It's always been that way. If you're driving through the middle of nowhere in Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, Kansas, you always see all these conservative farmers who use immigrant labor to pick the actual crops out of the field or to actually do all their cattle or everything else. Conservatives love cheap labor. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about a cheap labor party. But if you don't deliver to these actual areas and you're not out there like that, you don't even know that this is even happening. So you buy into the conservative hype of what they're actually selling, but you don't understand what they're doing.
No, MOT. Those are taking jobs from black men.
Yeah.
You know, black men really want to go and pick vegetables for $5 an hour under the tables. That's what's stopping them.
Yeah, somehow they want to be at. Somehow they're at Tyson's Chicken in Purdue. Yeah, that somehow they're at Tyson's Chicken in Purdue, waiting to be in that slaughterhouse, chopping up that beef and whatnot and them cattles, man.
All these meat processing facilities, they do the same thing. And I mean, you need to Google who Peter Boyles is, if he's still alive. But this is a guy who was on the actual TV screen during the Obama administration, who was online with the other guy from Fox News, he escapes me. But this guy was caught multiple times having illegal immigrants work on his house, cut his grass, do everything else. But everything out of his mouth in the Denver metro area on conservative talk radio in the Denver metro area, 630 KHOW, 850 AM, talking all this mad stuff about immigrants. Turns out immigrants do everything for this dude. But that's the way it is. It's just that they want to use their labor. They just don't want to pay them a living wage, and they don't want to actually give them any type of benefits when they actually work there. So those are the people who are truly ripping off the actual American citizen.
I'm just surprised too that, you know, this group of guys is you know, SYSBM. They're gonna go to other people's countries and passport bros and all this other stuff. But they're somehow anti-immigration here. It's kind of wild.
And that's funny, Renaissance. And you know what they don't really understand either, like the lasting ramifications, right? You brought up that chicken plant. Remember the one in Laurel, Mississippi, MOT, when they passed that crackdown?
That's Tyson's, right?
Yeah, Tyson's. Yeah, well, I think it was Tyson.
Yep.
Yeah, it was in Laurel, Mississippi.
Yep, and
then,
Hernandez had one too. One too.
And Alabama passed one, and all those tomato fields couldn't be harvested. But here's the ramifications of that too. When these tomato fields and all these like farms, when they lose these undocumented immigrants, that cheap labor, you know who comes in when that farmer can't pay those bills because they don't have anybody to tow the land and harvest? Bill Gates comes in and buys that farm.
Or prison labor.
Right. Yeah,
they'll try to bring the chain gang in.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, so just big corporation profits all around. So that small farmer, like that conservative farmer, he get gypped, he get drilled. You know, it's just funny, man. Like they don't even, I don't know, man. They don't understand what's going on. It's like crazy. They just keep with that fear mongering, talking about you getting evaded and like what that Nick Fuentes dude talking about black people and Mexicans fighting over territory, like all black people and Latinos like in gangs and all that nonsense. Like, but it's crazy.
They're trying to.
It's all sneak dissing.
Well, they're trying to play. If you've ever dealt with the conservatives, like, you know, basically the way these people operate, they have a zero-sum mentality. They kind of have a scarcity mindset, and they're trying to play that same mindset into the black community of, people are gonna take over neighborhoods, you're losing jobs, this and that, and the data just doesn't bear it out. I mean, you still have a labor shortage in this country. That's the crazy thing. Like I'm sitting here like, who is really wants a job right now that can't get one?
Yeah. Now let me play this clip, because what Nate was saying was that, this is what Republicans offer. This is what, the conservatives offer. So let's play this. We covered this early this week. Let's do it again.
Governor is set. It'll be current Attorney General versus former AG. Republican Daniel Cameron will try to unseat Democratic incumbent Andy Beshear.
Yeah, the current Attorney General makes history, though, as the Republican nominee, raking in nearly 50% of the vote. WCPO 9 News anchor Brett Bugansky is in Louisville tonight with how Cameron plans on unifying the party after a tough primary.
Big night for Daniel Cameron after the Associated Press called the race in his favor just minutes after the polls closed in Western Kentucky. On Tuesday night, Cameron went on stage thanking his supporters, saying he is honored to be the nominee for the Republican Party for Kentucky governor. And Cameron's message was a referendum on Governor Andy Beshear, specifically for how the governor handled the pandemic, his administration policies about school curriculum, and his stance on transgender student athletes playing women's sports. But he also talked about unifying the Republican Party, including the 11 other people he defeated in this primary election.
Like you and me, they care deeply about the future of the Commonwealth. And they know to get Kentucky back on track, we have one mission. And that one mission is to retire Andy Beshear from the governor's office. And together we can do that.
Cameron thanked former President Donald Trump for his endorsement, and the former president also released a statement Tuesday about Cameron's victory, but never mentioned Cameron's name in the actual message, but instead took a dig at Ron DeSantis, saying the results from Kentucky reaffirm he is still the leader of the Republican Party. Cameron made history Tuesday night. He is the first African-American nominee from a major political party to be running for Kentucky governor. And this November, he will try to make even more history. In Louisville, Brett Bugansky, WCPO 9 News.
Cameron's path to governor only gets more difficult from here. He faces off against current governor Andy Beshear, who had 2 challengers tonight and handily won against them. Beshear addressed supporters at the podium as they chanted they want 4 more years. Beshear wasted no time touting his achievements.
Everything we're doing right now is about building for the future. These 3 years of record-setting economic development should lead us into 30 years of progress and prosperity. Just in the last 3 years, $24 billion in new private sector investment here in Kentucky.
Polls show Beshear is a very popular governor. He's the only Democrat in Kentucky holding a statewide elected office.
Here is how other Republicans stacked up tonight behind AG Cameron.
Agriculture Commissioner Ryan Quarles pulled 22% of the vote. Former ambassador to the UN, Kelly Craft, had 17%. She was once considered a frontrunner and spent millions of her own money in this campaign. WCPO 9 News reporter Sean Delancey has reaction from her ardent supporters in Lexington tonight.
In a night that began as hopeful celebration for like-minded supporters of former U.S. Ambassador Kelly Craft quickly crashed into a night of sadness as she slipped further and further behind. In her concession speech, she was gracious for those who stuck with her.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you.
Craft supporters were captured by what they called a resolute defense of Christian moral values. She described herself as anti-abortion, pro-Second Amendment, and a supporter of the Christian conservative movement. Now there's worry about whether Daniel Cameron can succeed against Andy Beshear in November.
I am not anti-Cameron. That's not my agenda at all. But I truly believe what she says, what she stands for, and her purpose in running for governor gives us the best chance to unseat the current governor.
In her concession speech, Craft called for the Republican Party to unify against Beshear. It is worth noting that she avoided saying Cameron's name when calling for that unity.
So you hear this. When Republicans, when conservatives get together, they have no interest in advancing Black men who claim to be conservative within the party. Daniel Cameron's a conservative, okay? He's a Black male conservative. All these white folks who claim to be conservative themselves or who are conservative are not going to endorse this guy. They have no interest in this. And you have Black men on Bernard's panel talking about immigration when we just saw here, okay? Reagan's legacy, amnesty for illegal immigrants. All this talk about Democrats and the left and all this other stuff, and nothing to say about Black male conservatives not being endorsed. Conservatives, a legacy for amnesty for illegal immigrants. What are we talking about here?
That's because
nothing burger on Bernard's panel. So go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's because he does not understand the nuance of really politics. The whole. I mean, there's always been, I guess you could say, a hard Republicans being somewhat skeptical of immigration, but the whole stance of no amnesty whatsoever, that's a Trump policy. You have Republicans who are moving more and more towards like some sort of like compromise prior to 2016 and Trump running. In fact, when you saw the sort of the debrief as to why Romney lost, a lot of conservatives were just like, hey, we're going to have to basically change our policy. Or a lot of Republicans were just like, hey, we're going to change our policy on immigration. That was going to be sort of the compromise. And then Trump blew that all up because he just said no amnesty, period. And then a bunch of people followed along. So conservatives have actually historically been willing to compromise, as you can see on immigration. It's just Trumpism has been confused with conservatism ever since he came into the party.
Man, it's such a bad thing, because if they actually understood what the actual environment was like in Kentucky when all the coal jobs left, like before the pandemic, and how Beshear strategically put all of the actual capital investments, like you can have all the tax cuts you want, but you have to put your factory along the I-65 corridor if they're not in Louisville, Kentucky, because Louisville, Kentucky still has a lot of real estate that's not being capitalized on. They started moving those actual jobs out in the middle of nowhere. We're talking about $15 an hour, $20 an hour, $25 an hour. We're talking about people who wasn't even making that when they was in the coal jobs. Line them things up all up and down the I-65 corridor from like, you know, when you come into actual Kentucky across the bridge from Indiana, and they lined it up all the way to Tennessee, and Tennessee started doing the same thing from 65 all the way down to 24, 24 all the way across to actual Memphis, did the same exact thing. People who are working in that area are making more money than they can in actually fast food. There are fast food places who can't even hire somebody at $6 and $7 an hour because 350 feet away is a place that actually hires somebody at $20 an hour. This is what happened after the pandemic.
Yeah.
And people are just not even taking that into account. Like these people are like, well, you know what? We're not going to learn new skills. Like, hold on a second. We're just driving forklifts and working in a factory like we used to. And we're now making the way more money than we were actually thought that we was going to make before. Yeah, it's a good deal. And they're not giving that up. They know the place is going to be there forever. Those people educate them about where they're going to be at and how they actually interact with the economy. Those people get to stay in their trailers off in the middle of nowhere. Those people are fine out there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, MOT, I'm sure you noticed when you went back to Mississippi around the holidays, if you went to any fast food place, the line would be wrapped around the building. You'd be like, damn, this place is pretty busy. And you get to the window and realize, oh, it's only 2 people working there. That's why the line's to the street.
But then again, every other factory that you've seen on the highway with hiring signs all the way to the fast food place, that's where all the people are at. Nobody's really working at these fast food places like that anymore.
Yeah, that's why they're even talking about
a lot of stuff is being.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just going to say that's why you see a lot of these places. At least up here, we have an automated restaurant up here in downtown Boston, and so the idea that you need all this cheap labor and whatnot, man, that stuff is just going to the it's going away slowly but surely. It's going away. That's not really the case anymore.
Yeah.
We got Nagone on the panel too. Speaking of Nagone, speaking of jobs and recruiting and labor shortage, Nagone, can you speak to any of what we're talking about right here and what you've heard so far?
Yeah, when we really look at it, let's just talk about Black people more specifically. When we start looking at Black folks and Black people, because this is the Manosphere, so we're going to talk more about Black people specifically as far as jobs are concerned. Our major major employer pretty much is the public sector, which is, a lot of state and federal jobs. That's where most of our middle class, quite frankly, working class is actually coming from. And then the second is moving really into the healthcare field. A lot of people, nurses, CNAs, and so forth, and moving in with respect to much of the administrative roles that are played there as well. So when we really look at the numbers and we really start talking about, the Browns are coming in and are knocking out your jobs and are taking you out of the way and all that kind of stuff like that, that's actually not true. That is not where the majority of your workers are actually actually employed. You have your fast food positions and so forth. And most of them are a lot younger people. That's a far younger demographic, but people who are certainly moving into mid-20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. Your major employer is for Black people, especially, which you tend to get a better shake at is the state. So what do we mean by that? The state, we're talking about state jobs. We're talking about jobs also with the federal government. A lot of Browns or illegals and so forth coming in, they're not eligible because a lot of them don't have IDs and so forth and can't really even begin to challenge you there. So those are people running a right wing. Yeah, I-9 forms, absolutely. And I-9, for people have to know, you have to have, either your passport or your driver's license, something like that. That is a government or state issued ID that you have to have. And if you're not a citizen per se, you're not even going to come close. It's not going to happen. So that's where most of us are really being, are making our money or being employed. the myth of this brown person coming in and knocking you out of the box because they're taking all your jobs and everything else like that is bullcrap. That's just not true, and that's according to the Department of Labor as well. And anyone can certainly go there and be glad to look that up, and you'll see that. So when you start to follow the numbers and really are looking at what's truly going on, these guys are just mouthing right-wing talking points because that's what they're that's what they're most comfortable doing, but they're not talking from any real knowledge of real numbers. Most Black people are not competing with Latinos or the Browns coming in fighting for who's going to pick the most strawberries in Oxnard, California, in those large fields, those large how would we say industrial farms that these large food manufacturers that are out here that are making billions to trillions of dollars. They are the ones who are your major employers. So it's a corporate. It's the corporations that are actually running that whole game and are utilizing very cheap labor that are coming in over the border and are being employed in these areas. And there's nobody really standing up to that because they don't have the money to fight these people. And many of the politicians who are here talking out of one side of their mouth and doing something else know exactly what's going on, but they're getting nice campaign contributions from Danone and from Birdseye and these other places that are hiring a lot of these people who are making billions. And that's where you're at. So I only thing I'm going to say is, at the end of the day, you can't really listen to these people. You can't trust them. Anything that they're saying is hyperbolic, and most of it is just blatantly untrue. So that's what you have to look at, and that's what's going on. That's the Republican tropes that they're running, and I just wanted to say that. But it doesn't comport with the numbers. Anyway, go ahead.
They're gonna listen, man. It seemed like to me, man, they want us back. They want us back picking cotton, dog. That's what it sounds like to me.
I mean, you're dealing with a hyper ignorant crew of people who have some deeper issues going on with themselves that I'm going to sit here and get into right now. But I don't respect them, obviously. And at the end of the day, they don't truly understand where real Black America is, and until you start looking at the numbers. And when you start to look at that and you see where we are more gainfully employed, where are we as a working class people? That's what we are. Lower to lower middle class, working class people. When you look at where we are, our biggest employers are your states and your federal government. That's where your major employment is. That's where you are. That's where a large part of our middle class is.
Go ahead.
Anyway, well.
Yeah, go ahead, MOT. Go ahead, Renaissance man. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, the thing is, Black folks, we've been in this country for 400 years. We should be beyond like entry level jobs at the same jobs competing with immigrants for. I mean, that's just when you look at the opportunities we have now, that are in front of us. I mean, if a guy is sitting up here really saying that he can't get a job because of immigrants, I just have to look at him and like, what have you been doing in your life? Why is someone who comes to this country, doesn't know the language, has no network, has no connections, yet you are someone who possibly could have been where you're living, been there for 2 or 3 generations, and that person is taking jobs away from you? I mean, it doesn't add up.
RM, he's lying. That individual comes up and says that he's a liar. He's a liar. Okay, that's what he is. He's a liar. So you have to look at that and really
let him finish.
You got it.
No. I was pretty much done. It's just it doesn't really make sense. I mean, I just, once again, I don't see how, Black men specifically are losing out on, on these jobs that they're talking about. Like I said, when most of these jobs are really manual labor, getting paid under the table, which means you're getting paid less than minimum wage. I'm just confused on how, 40, 30-year-old Black men are somehow competing for minimum wage jobs. It doesn't make sense.
But according to these guys, they're all successful. I mean, let me finish playing the clip because it probably.
Another thing that's going to help, okay, is school choice. You get to take your tax dollars, pull your babies out of these horrible public schools that have transition closets and want to put tampon dispensers in boys' bathrooms. And you could take your state tax dollars and maybe put it into a private or parochial school or a homeschooling for your children. See, the problem is none of that has Black in front of it. Black school choice.
So
basically, illegal immigration reform.
So basically, the premise
you
is
just want Black in front of everything. You're not going to do
white
that.
People is good for Black people automatically. What's good
for America is good for Black people.
Do you see? No. So your question?
That's never been the case. When has that been the case? Is what's good for America is good for Black people.
Yes, that is the case.
When has that ever been the case?
That is the case. That is the case.
Oh my God, these niggas
what's good for the house? What's good for your house is good for you.
Is this considered good for America then right now?
This is not a sophisticated political strategy.
Get the fuck out of here.
Sophisticated. You see how these niggas play games?
Let me ask him one question.
You're full of shit.
Come on,
How much on the left are full of shit?
No. Okay.
Let me ask one question.
Want to put the accountability solely on the Black community?
I think the Kansas City Chiefs is asking trying to get one question in. Go ahead.
How much does your food cost if we get rid of illegal immigrants?
It costs I can answer that.
Go ahead.
It will cost a lot less than voting for Democrats that tell the Fed to print $13 trillion, more money than's been printed in the last 100 years of American history, which caused inflation. It'll be a lot cheaper. Next.
What'll happen to labor prices? What'll happen to labor costs? That won't go up.
Whoa.
Housing
if
costs
labor, whoa. I can answer that too.
Your food in your restaurant.
I can answer that too. If labor costs go up, guess what? Pay goes up. Those individuals make more money. They can participate better in the economy, and it'll accommodate the slightly higher prices. The prices are through the roof because of your president printing $13 trillion in his first year in office.
Wages have been flat.
Wait, can you stop there, Mike?
Nigga, my wages have gone up significantly in the last.
I can't stand it. This misinformation shit is. I'm sorry, because I'm sorry.
No, you're good. It's the same thing. Him acting like Joe Biden just came into office and the Fed just printed $13 trillion according to Lil Vic Nate. Never mind that quantitative easing has literally been going on since 2008, 2009. Also, never mind the fact that Trump added $8 trillion to the deficit while he was in office. Since he seems to be one of these quote unquote deficit hawks and tries to blame that on inflation. But then the funny thing is he then turns and makes an argument that increasing labor costs that's not going to contribute to inflation. He just said, that's going to be offset. So it doesn't even make sense. And then the other thing on top of that, when he starts talking about the school choice argument, the other thing he doesn't acknowledge is, yeah, you can give people the choice to go to school, but here's the thing: when you start talking about doing that, those schools can easily reject your kids. Like a private school doesn't have to let you in. So you could very well end up just like, well, I can't get into this, charter school or this private school. So you could very well end up in the same public school with less resources because of school choice. Like he doesn't talk about any of that.
Yeah, and then the Republican Party has been fighting against minimum wage. I mean, increasing the minimum wage for decades. So what is he? It's crazy. Anyway, man. But that's a good point about the school choice. I wasn't really aware of that. That's a good point.
Yeah, these guys they're not into talking facts, because if you start to get into the facts, their talking points or their positions drop. That's why you have this guy screaming, doing a whole lot of screaming, because they're trying to over talk you because their points don't match up to the numbers. And that's essentially really, really what you're looking at. And, being that, I would say, even in Black businesses that you own and how you're employed and so forth. It's literally, the state getting involved in those areas for the state and for the federal government and in healthcare. And let's just put it like this: if you want to be a CNA and literally go in a hospital and clean somebody's behind, literally you have to have a license for that. So, the immigrants are not catching you in these areas. So you have to look at where we are for real, what the real facts are, and then, match it against what these guys are yelling about. And they sound crazy. They actually sound crazy.
Yeah. Citizen Lou.
Let me finish playing.
I was gonna quickly say, Citizen Lou, on the private school thing, if you just look at the South, like you'll see a prime example of how that works, where, essentially, like if you go somewhere outside of the South, if they have private schools, it's usually for like super elite people who make just like, millions of dollars and can afford $60,000 in tuition. But if you go to the South, you'll see all sorts of these little Christian private schools associated with like a church, or just tiny, like, 60 child private schools. Those are basically segregation academies. And if you have a black child, you can very easily be not let into those schools just because you're black. I mean, they can't say it explicitly, but when you don't see a single black person in these schools, you kind of know what's going on.
A lot of those Christian schools in the Mississippi Delta do not have black people in them, unless you pass a quote unquote test in order to be there.
When I was growing up, the people who went to the Christian schools was because they couldn't pass those state tests. But they just went over that. You know what I mean? Like that's where they would go. They would go like to those Christian academies because they didn't have that state test requirement to graduate. But you're right, it wasn't a lot of them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's de facto segregation.
Let me finish playing the let me finish playing the last 10 minutes.
20 years.
Get
out of here, dog.
Bernard,
Plenty of all these black men's wages have gone up. Ain't no black man making the same he did 20 years ago.
Bro, you don't
You're
know what you're
lying.
talking about. Wages has been flat since the fucking 70s, bro. It's a
Yeah,
fact.
okay. Nigga, you're a doom and gloomer. You're a doom and gloomer, nigga. That's what you are.
You're believing in white
You're a
Republicans
doom
so
and
much.
gloomer, nigga.
You hate Democrats so much you assume white Republicans.
All right, hold on, hold on. I'm throwing it to Hood. Go ahead, Hood Service.
Can I go after that, Bernard?
Yes.
Thank you. Somebody just raised the issue of Black people doing what's good for the conservative white people, and then it will also be good for them too, right? Now, the immigration argument is a perfect example of that. Now, and this is why I make the kind of jokes about race, and I'm going to do the racism today, because ultimately, if you tell me that all this time the white man has been, wanting to build a wall and wanting to keep everybody out the country, that was racist. And now we find ourselves at the edge of a cliff here with this army of illegal immigrants pushing us closer to the cliff. As it turns out, we should have done what the racist white man was trying to do, right? So as it turns out, it was right to actually be anti-immigrant.
Bro, that's
That's why when I first came on, I asked you what was racist. That has to, as far as being reclassified, because conservative and racism don't operate in the same dynamic.
No, roguish.
That means
that
you are.
I got you on that.
The problem is short-term thinking.
As this shit is given to you through this political bullshit.
What happens when black people benefit from closing the borders, but then Republicans initiate shit that doesn't benefit us?
Oh my God!
Hold on. Are you saying we're going to be locked in here with them and something bad's going to happen to us?
You can't do nothing with niggas that think like
Locked
this.
in.
Like they're closing the border. Look, you just said close.
You're assuming that just voting in.
Hey, bro, hold up. Shit been popping off since 2002 on the negative side with them. So it already is what it is. Black people have had a long time to come under some type of coagulation amongst themselves, if not socially, culturally, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I guess if this political shit is the last venture, then I guess that's it. But the thing is, this isn't just a black people issue. The thing is, this, you can say the system or whatever y'all want to call it, the way that the politics operate in this land, they've already operated for this. You know what I'm saying? The way that private sector operate in this land through the politics, they've already, you know what I mean? So the issue isn't that they're being placed amongst black people.
All right. We gotta go. Hold on, we got it. Hold on, wait. Time out, chill, everybody.
Get something
Chill
off
for a
real
second. We got to go to we got to go to Pablo real quick. But shout out to Mike V. Shout out to Mike.
Let's
V
go, Mike V.
The $20 cash. Oh no, actually no. Mike, whenever Mike is responds to something that I do, he sends a cash app. So good on him. That's respect. That's respect. But he says I'll be doing. Shout out to Mike V. Shout out to Mike V. Since 20.
Just for the record, that was my idea. Just so that you can't flag my content on the Black Brain Trust. So we won't go through this thing again. So
where's the brain trust? Let's go, brainiacs. Let's go, smart niggas.
So, all right, yeah, we swinging it to Pablo. Actually, no, okay, all right, go ahead, Pablo.
So if I may offer a little perspective to the, I guess, anti-conservatives on the panel that may not know me, I am married to a
conservative, by the way.
Okay, well, you're taking an anti-conservative position on this particular.
No. The thing is, y'all think y'all have a monopoly on conservative.
I thought it was more sophisticated.
All right, let's let the man get it out. God damn, let the man get it out.
You're in disagreement. You're in disagreement with the majority of the panel.
No. I think y'all need an adjustment. That's all it is. I ain't disagreeing. Totally.
All right. So I am married to a Latina who came to this country by legal means, and I repeat, legal, right? So I have no particular leaning either way. However, the gentlemen on the panel who are on the conservative side of the ledger are saying that they have a problem with people just streaming across the border undocumented, risking life and limb, throwing the social systems and economic systems of the United States into turmoil. And let me reverse it. Social systems and economic systems
what the fuck is going on?
Hey, Kansas City, that's you, bro.
You gotta mute up.
I'm trying to find. I got him.
He got his YouTube on.
That's not him.
I think the phone is tapped.
All right. Either way it go, I think we got it. Go ahead.
So let me give you a little backstory. I'll try to land this as quickly as I can. Let me show you in reverse how this works, and maybe you'll get a better grasp of it. I am in a Medellin expat group on Facebook. Americans and English-speaking Colombians who maybe lived in the U.S. and then returned are all in this Medellin expat group, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is going on is a conversation is being had amongst Colombians about all these wealthy Americans who are flooding into the city and driving up prices, taking up real estate, and causing inflation. Mm-hmm. So now, even though the Colombians who were quote unquote once wealthy, guess what happens when an American moves in? Now he is pushed out because he can't afford the rents and the prices of food and all of that kind of stuff.
Same thing happened in Mexico.
He is moved out of his once privileged station down to, the commoners.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So imagine if you took all of the Central American immigrants and South American immigrants who come here and made them all millionaires.
Okay.
What would it do to the people who remain? To the citizens of the United States?
You relegate them to the underclass.
Oh, exactly. So what you have is the reverse. It becomes a strain on the infrastructure. But guess what? Colombia doesn't allow us, American citizens, to just come in undocumented and hang out.
Right.
Yeah, and bro, I don't think me and Rogish are disagreeing with the concept of more a policed border. I'm not for open borders and pouring in. I don't think Rogish is either.
Not at all.
I think y'all think of it as like, okay, if you're not totally conservative, then you have to be for an open border.
Wait a
Like,
minute.
I
Wait a
don't
minute.
understand.
Hold on. Let me ask this question then, because the whole gist of the whole show, we were criticizing basically open border policies.
Right. Yeah, of course. I was watching.
So,
and then you had,
why do you keep trying to hang this on the neck of black conservatives? Like, bro, we didn't invite the Mexicans over here. This is not us.
I don't know no niggas who invited them over here. I mean, what about the motherfuckers who marrying them? I mean,
what about all this talk about the Black Brown Coalition?
Wait a minute. Hold on. What's love got to do with it? What are you bringing marriage up?
That's a mixture of culture.
Wait a minute. I'm trying to figure out where any disagreement came in.
There was no disagreement. Look,
came
in on painting the picture of
ranting
motherfuckers
about
being
how
some
this
leftists
was-
or some shit.
Right.
I need, hold on,
wait,
wait, back up, Rogish, because I was talking at the same time. What are you saying? The question was where did disagreement come in? If y'all agree with the assessment that illegal immigrants is having
because little Nate went on to rant for several minutes about how this all is based on, well, truly based on the Democratic policies. But then he went on to say all these niggas who support
vote for this.
Hold on. All right, good. Wait. Hold on. He said,
bro.
wait a minute. I understand that hard ER threw you off, but getting rid of the N word with a hard ER.
Yeah.
He said, well, these African American citizens of this country, they vote with this, they side with this.
He insinuated that the solution was merely voting for conservatives, and I said,
how's that
sophisticated analysis of the political
That's
landscape?
the gap right there. That's it right there.
Okay.
You're the immature one. Not
Wait a minute. I'm pretty sure. I'm sure you could say it was definitely implied in there that voting conservative, voting Republican was the solution. But
is it really? Is it really? Republicans have controlled the White House for almost, 4 election cycles? From Reagan, Bush Sr., and then you had Bush Jr. I mean, you can throw Clinton in there as a moderate with his middle of the road, sort of close to the right, center right. You really can't blame anybody else for this. It's written right here. So saying that, well, black people, they support liberals that, invite them. What are you talking about? All you have to do is read, man. It's really not that difficult. And let me drop this other gem in here. Just give me a second. Let me
Well, why are you doing that though?
Real quick. Go ahead.
The one thing I wanted to talk to as well, when he was bringing up the Colombia example, what he's not being honest about is that's what happens when you have wealthy people going to a poorer nation that drives up costs. We're not talking about.
Thank you, Renaissance man. I was about to say that, man. Exactly. He's totally being disingenuous. I can't
Exactly.
believe he went that route.
Because if you go and look at like Japan, recently Japan had a story out this week. You can buy a home for $500 in Japan in a village because they have I think 10 million homes or something crazy like that are not filled because the population is shrinking. And that's what all advanced societies are seeing.
Yep.
Their populations are shrinking and they're needing people to come in and fill the labor force, which these guys are ignoring.
And Renaissance man, he's also not telling you how Colombia has very open visas. Like they really promote visas. Like if you buy a house, instant citizenship. You have the pension visa. So if you can prove that you're getting like a Social Security or VA disability up to like $2,000 a month, they give you visa, student visa. Colombia is very open to foreigners becoming citizens. So he's making it, he went like, if you don't know, like you said, like I think if you don't know really the laws, you can't really spot it out. But yeah, he went totally wrong with that because they're not coming to Colombia and taking jobs or however they're trying to put it, right? They're bringing their either remote income or pension or capital to the poor country. and doing it like that. That's just capitalism. You know what
Exactly.
I mean? That's not even...
No, that's just an economy. Like that's what these guys don't want to acknowledge is that if you essentially close your borders, you close your country for business, essentially, the inflow and outflow of capital. I mean, that's why you don't even see Republicans really pushing for this as far as when they have the power to, because there's business transactions that go back and forth with people going to Mexico every day or coming to the US to do business. You have foreign students who come here and go to school and go back and forth. Like that's what these guys don't want to acknowledge is that all of that they're talking is bad for business and bad for the economy.
Let me read this real quick. This is from Stanford Social Innovation. Union construction's racial equity and inclusion charade. White men have taken extraordinary measures to keep construction unions white and have designed their unions to frustrate and intimidate prospective Black members. I thought, this would be relevant, so let's go over this real quick. Union construction jobs are not just good jobs, they are great jobs. They have a relatively low entry barrier and offer world-class training, great pay and benefits that allow members to retire with dignity. However, what's often overlooked is union construction's racism, in that those great jobs, particularly leadership positions, are designed to remain filled by white men. So it's not the people at the border that's taking these jobs away from Black men. It's your conservative buddies who are taking jobs away from Black men. Let's go into this. Thanks to construction workers, activists, and journalists, there are countless documented examples of the widespread racism that Black people face in interactions with construction unions, from being called racist names to being administered tests designed to ensure their failure. A gamut of discriminatory practices make it difficult for Black workers to enter, remain, and grow in the industry. In an effort to understand the barriers to racial equity and inclusion in Boston union construction, I've spoken to dozens of union and non-union workers and activists about the industry's racism. Some respondents rehearsed revisionist histories and pretended that racism within the trades has never existed, but others fully acknowledged the industry's history of racism and wanted to collaborate on solutions towards equity and inclusion. The building trades unions are committed to access to wages and benefits, says Brian Doherty, a Secretary Treasurer General Agent for the Building and Construction Trades Council of Boston's Metropolitan District. But for 100 years, it was for very few people. It wasn't for everyone. The past is shameful. In order to create a more diverse and inclusive industry and to avoid the same mistakes in the future, we first need to learn from the shameful past, referencing historical examples, primarily found in researchers David A. Goldberg and Trevor Griffey's Black Power at Work, Community Control Affirmative Action in the Construction Industry. I described the six strategies that have made the process of joining a construction union as frustrating as possible for Black people. So frustrating and exhausting, in fact, that many Black people would rather give up trying or not try at all. And when a particular strategy fails to dissuade Black applicants, white union members resort to intimidation in erecting other barriers for entry, such as devising a racially biased entrance exam that projects racism as a kind of failure onto Black people. Other times, it's openly calling Black workers the N-word and explicitly telling them that they aren't welcome into a construction union. I then turned to the case study of union construction in the Boston area to examine how racism manifests today. I'm not going to read this whole thing. We don't have a whole lot of time, but it's not the people at the border. It's your conservative buddies that are keeping Black men from working in these very well-paid, blue-collar, unionized jobs.
That's not the only thing, Mike. That's not the only thing. These people come through, they get government jobs to take over organizations for the actual government, and they institute the same policy. They institute the same thing. So that way these people can be able to get their military retirement and still kind of quasi work for a federal institution through a proxy and still be able to get paid both ways. Like, a lot of people don't understand that these people have been doing this since Bush came into office. that they've been actually civilianizing and privatizing most of the actual federal partnerships and actually filling them and pretty much putting them in there with a whole bunch of people that are not you. So when they say all this type of stuff, I can guarantee you that they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Especially in the military industrial complex where Lockheed Martin and a lot of these big contracts that Black people would be very well off with, Black men are not getting access to them because their white conservative buddies keep them out. How's that for, being a conservative in the Manosphere? You see how easy this is? We can just pull up this information. Yeah. See how easy that is? We could just pull up this information. You got Daniel Cameron running for governor, not getting endorsed by Trump, not getting support from the party. See how easy that is? See how easy it is? We can pull up, Reagan's legacy, amnesty for illegal immigrants. This started with the conservatives. See how easy it is? We could just pull up, well-paid construction jobs, blue-collar jobs that Black men would do well with, but can't get access to because their white conservative buddies are keeping them out.
And it's classically, you're hitting it right. Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. You hit it right in the head. You're hitting it right in the head. They classically have done that. New York City, they were doing the same thing with the construction trades and unions. There were a lot of battles going on between Black groups and the unions to hire Black people in there. They were trying to keep you out. Keep you out of there. They were trying to keep you out of there. It was Irish, Italians, and these others who were glomming it all for themselves. That still goes on to this very day. So you're still battling on that front right now. That has not ended. They got a lot of holes in the ground in New York City. They're building more buildings. And, when you're looking at the percentage of workers that are in there that are Black, it's far lower than 10 or 12%. Far lower than that. They're still excluding you from that. And people are fighting that currently. So, I don't know what it says for Boston. I'm sure they're running in the same area, but this is enterprise-wide. So as far as your conservative buddies, your conservative buddies don't want you in there. They don't. They don't want you competing for dollars. They don't want you in there competing. No.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we don't have to resort to, Luciferians and the Illuminati, the Bilderberg, and the George Soros. We don't have to resort to all that.
Bechtel.
Okay, we have.
You gotta do that.
But he calling people the hard ER. He calling people the hard ER. If you disagree with him too, that's crazy. This is.
Have you seen how he dressed? Have you seen him dressed at the Manosphere conference?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Call him Black men boy. I'm like, what is this guy, man?
Yeah, man. He want to be a conservative. He want to be a real conservative, man.
Threatening to lynch people at one point. I don't know. I'm like, like I said, that's what you see with a lot of these Black conservatives. Unfortunately, is that they have to almost go to the opposite extreme. They have to go to the extreme and say more extreme stuff than even conservatives say, like just to be taken seriously.
Yeah, and beat you over the head with.
But it serves to white conservatives' interests because then they don't have to do it. They can rely on somebody like Lil Big Nick to do it. He's a good foot soldier.
Or Mark Robinson. Mark Robinson, like him saying that a lot of freedoms were lost during the civil rights movement. I'm like, what's going on here? Like, do you not have mirrors at your house, dude? Like.
Yeah, it's replacement theory. It's Black men's version of replacement theory. Somebody's coming to get me. You got to stop these illegals from coming in. First of all, they're not illegal. They're applying for amnesty. Okay, they're illegal only if they overstay or they commit a crime and they violate their stay. That's the only way that they're illegal. They're not actually illegal.
Well, I was gonna say that's not a crime because you hear a lot of people say that that they committed a crime. No, most people who are here undocumented, they overstayed their visa and didn't leave. But they actually, I think during the Bush administration, he tried to criminalize that, and it failed. So I mean, literally trying to say these people are criminals would be like trying to say Mike is a criminal because he ran at the stop sign and got a ticket. Like that's not a criminal offense, that's a civil offense.
Well, I meant violent felonies. A lot of MS-13 and stuff like that. Those type of cats would be the ones that become the face of illegal immigration, right? Well, let me read this piece right here. This last piece here. This is from NBC Philadelphia. It's because I'm Black. Rejected police recruits say system is racist. In January, the Philadelphia Police Department's most recent training academy class included no Black cadets. Potential recruits of color told NBC 10 of the many obstacles they face despite eagerness to serve their city. So we know that law enforcement, Donald Trump, law and order, he's the law and order guy, but yet the very institutions that this conservatives hold up, Black people realistically don't have all that much access to and all that much upward mobility. And so I don't know where these guys get the information from. I'd be interested in seeing their sources on this. But what's happening in the Manosphere is that you have these jokers right here, with the exception of Bernard, he's just a host, innocent bystander, civilian. All these other jokers on the panel who are getting it wrong on both sides, to be quite frank. I think that other brother up there with the Kansas City, I think he's needs to brush up a little bit. Most of these guys who claim to be conservative don't really have a conservative bone in their body, man. They are not conservatives. We have to keep putting emphasis behind this. A lot of these guys are just doing cosplay in the Manosphere because it's easy. You don't have to prove anything, and you can make a lot of money off of it if you do it right. Shout out to ABL. And what's happening now is that because they can't grift off of Kevin Samuels, or they can't grift off of, the MAGA movement, right? Or I shouldn't say the MAGA movement, but they can't exactly grift off of Trump. They do is they blame Biden for everything now, even though Biden has added upwards to 12 million more jobs in the last cycle, or this presidential cycle. He signed 300 plus bipartisan bills. Trump didn't do any of this in his 4 years, okay? Any of it, none of it. Go ahead, anybody can jump in.
You still have on even at truck stops, you still have, what, Biden did this. Yeah, it looked like the diesel price is effectively lower right now than what it was during when it was $5, damn near $6 a gallon, when it was, coming up to the actual war with the actual Ukraine. Now all those stickers are kind of taking off the actual pumps all over the country. You're starting to see that. First, there was a Biden sticker with Biden's face. Look at that. I did that. Now that the prices are low, all the stickers are off the pumps all of a sudden. Oh, okay, man. All right, man.
Yeah.
No, it's
with the Keystone Pipeline.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Citizen Lou, because the Keystone Pipeline did not belong to the United States. That's actually a Canadian pipeline that was supposed to go to China during the Obama administration, and it was halted so that they would not supply energy to the Chinese. And so what they did is they ended up rerouting it through the Dakotas, which is what they call the Dakota Access Pipeline, DAPO, where they ran a pipeline through. Yeah, go ahead.
But Mike, the oil prices is off futures. It's based on oil futures. How is that? That's why the price is high now.
It's always something, ain't it? Always something.
Conservative Citizen Lou has that conservative SBE voice.
Yeah, SBE. but the oil, that's what they
conservative
told me. They told me. Yeah, it's not the fact that Trump signed that deal with OPEC to stop oil production. It's just crazy, bro. It's just so much misinformation, though. And they know that it takes They know that, you know, they know they can just, y'all call it gish gallop and yell and scream and, oh, I'll get to that later. Let me call you in RDR while I scream at you. And just play on your you know, fear that of Latinos, of Mexicans, you know, because they speak another language, you don't know what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's crazy, man.
Oh.
No, it's like I said.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I'm just surprised, you know, these guys are now jumping to, you know, immigration and being replaced. Like at some point they're tipping their hand into like, hey, let me just get what, you know, what the latest talking point is. And it's not surprising because, you know, you had Title 42 expire. And, you know, people have been talking about, you know, basically the migrant crisis. And, you know, I think that's why Hoodservative jumped on this and all of a sudden made this a topic is, oh, it's the latest thing in, you know, in conservative circles, you know, that's why, you know, these guys are going around yelling about, you know, bathrooms and kids and women competing and men competing these sports. And it's just, they're just taking the next talking point they've heard from conservatives and then trying to tie it into Black America somehow.
Because they lack any identity for themselves. That's essentially what it comes down to. Black men lack identity in this space. And so they latch on to whatever else is available that seems pliable for them. And that happens to be Anglo-Saxon men. And so they fawned over these types of men. But we just proved that Daniel Cameron, former AG who handled the Breonna Taylor case, who mishandled it by the way, a lot of these guys who supported, you know, the idea that Breonna Taylor was guilty are now eating crow and eating their own helmet because none of that ever came true. And so now they got this former AG running for governor, and nobody's endorsing him. This is how they treat Black male conservatives. And we have to keep going over this, whether it's Daniel Cameron or it's Herschel Walker or it's Vernon Jones or it's Lieutenant Colonel West in Texas GOP, where his wife got pulled over and got yoked up, you know, by Texas law enforcement, and they left him out there to hang out high and dry. And then you take into consideration what's this other joker? Well, I shouldn't say he's joker, but Michael Steele. Okay, left Michael Steele out there to hang high and dry. And so Black men in this space have not learned their lesson. They are committed to the man crush of Anglo-Saxon men. Okay.
Yeah. How long?
Anglo-Saxon men. They love these white men. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say how long before they're trying to blame the debt crisis on Biden? Like, I'm sure that'll be next if you don't, or you know, if they invoke the 14th Amendment, which I think they're gonna have to do. You know,
that's right. They're gonna have, Biden gonna have to do that. Yeah, he's gonna have to.
Yeah. If they do that, then you know, whatever the talking point is out of that, I'm sure we'll hear all this talk from, you know, Hoodservative, and these guys will put on their economist hats and start talking about, well, you know, it was the right thing to do, and the economy wouldn't have been hurt, and this and that. I mean, it's just, you know, it's just the next thing on the bandwagon with these people.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's not a hat; it's an economist helmet.
yeah.
And it's a different helmet.
And speaking of conservative
helmet. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and speaking of conservatives, I wonder if Donald Trump is going to reach out to Jim Brown, who is now an ancestor. Remember the same Jim Brown who went up to Trump in 2016, went to Trump Tower?
Yeah, I remember. Or Kanye.
Went to the White House with Kanye. Sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. You know, there's speculation is saying that some of those pardons Trump gave out that were pay for play.
Yeah, 2 million.
Yeah. They broke it down.
Like 2 million. Y'all heard about that? Like Lil Wayne and Kodak.
Yeah. 2 million a pop. Yeah, and then they were splitting it. You know, Rudy and them were splitting. Yeah.
Yo, these boys some crooks, dog. Oh my God, they just some crooks. Republicans getting caught smoking crack in their cars, and they lying about being Democrats and switching over, and They're holding America hostage with this debt ceiling. Republicans just trying to end remote
conservatives.
Work. Oh, I'm sorry, but
you got conservatives pushing for child labor. No, I'm saying you got conservatives pushing for child labor. Okay, you got Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders reducing and relaxing the laws for children to work, man, underage children to work.
They want kids to have CDLs at 13.
This is what's going on.
You know, this is crazy.
Yeah. And so who's really taking whose jobs here? You know, what about the Hyundai Kia plant in Alabama, the big brouhaha that's going on down there where the EEOC is involved? How come they're not talking about that when it comes to Black men's jobs? Let me pull it up because I like to cite my sources because you can't rely on these guys to cite their sources.
No, they could just point at the helmet, man. Manosphere.
like that white helmet with the cross on it. You know how the safety.
Yeah.
They point at it. I'm safety. Like they point at it when they. Hey, look at it.
Be focused about your purpose.
Yeah, this is I mean, with the Restrict Act, you know, they're hiding it behind TikTok is becoming a weapon against the Republicans as well. I mean, that's why they're really trying to ban it, to be honest. Like TikTok.
Because them young dudes are engaged on TikTok. I'm telling you, TikTok has done a lot against this actual conservative movement that they have to shut down. Because these people are being engaged and educated in ways that they never have been. Like
MOT, they're getting conservatives getting destroyed on TikTok every day. Every day they get destroyed.
But you have to realize there's no reason to be a young conservative unless you're being paid. Ooh. If you're not being paid, there's literally no reason to be an actual young conservative because everything that affects you, you see it as an actual young individual. You see everything. You see the education system. You see the job market. You see the lack of education funding. Dude, you see everything on the ground floor as a young human being. This is why they never wanted people on colleges to vote in actual elections when they actually went to those actual places. It's the same thing.
They're doing that now. They're making it to where college kids can't vote. I think they have like a residency, like some type of requirement. So if you're in like a state,
residency requirement. Yeah. Residency requirement.
Yeah, man. So they doing. I mean, this is crazy.
And they know how many people that they're removing from the actual voter rolls when they're doing that. So there is no, we don't know what we're doing. No, they know exactly the percentages and how many people by number that they're knocking off of the voter rolls by actually doing that.
That's exactly correct. And let me say this: if you drop this voting age of 16, you would never see another conservative get elected again. That would be the reality. So
yeah, they said 16 million Gen Z will be eligible to vote this coming up election, and Republicans are terrified.
Of course, yeah, they are terrified. I look at my grandson. Look at him. Oh my God, you know the way he looks at some of this stuff and what these guys are doing. You know, that keeps me kind of tethered to these youngsters, and they're not in favor of a lot of the madness that you do see. So Republican, you know, these ultra, and I'm talking about the conservatives, especially the middle-aged white males. They're a lot of what they're about is going by way of the dodo bird, man, and it's they know it. That's why they're moving so fast and quick and being vicious about this and having there's no compunctions. They know they're lying. They know they're all over the place. They don't care. They're just coming right out with it now because you know they know their time is short. They know it. It is what it is. The numbers are showing you that. The numbers are showing you can't avoid the numbers. The numbers are telling you this. It's the numbers.
Here we go right here. Here we go right here. This is from Alabama.com. Black men suing Montgomery Hyundai plant for racial discrimination. White manager was called master. You can't make this up, man.
It
Oh, you can't make
seems
this
like
up,
it
man.
seems fake. You know what I mean? It seems like you just can't believe it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Let me read this excerpt. Hyundai Motor Manufacturing of Alabama is the subject of another racial discrimination lawsuit, this time filed by 5 Black men who say they were denied promotions, punished with write-ups, and in one instance, told to report to a white manager who was referred to as master. The 34-page lawsuit filed in U.S. District Court for Alabama's Middle District comes a month after former HMMA Director of Administration Yvette Gilkey Shuford sued the company for racial and gender discrimination. The new suit seeks back pay, lost benefits, compensatory and punitive damages. Robert Burns, Vice President of Human Resources and Administration for HMAA, said the company does not comment on details of pending litigation. HMMA provides a workplace free of discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, age, national origin or ancestry, citizenship status, physical or mental disability, genetic information, veteran status, uniform service member status, or any other status protected by federal, state, or local law, Burns said in a statement. I wanted to, really highlight this because a lot of these guys who especially Lil Big Nate, who runs around talking about same-sex bathrooms and all this other trans stuff, right? Sexual orientation is protected under law. Gender identity protected under law. Citizenship status, ancestry, physical or mental disability, genetic information, you can't discriminate against people, okay? And so if you think voting Republican is going to get you something, you're in for a rude awakening. According to the suit, Blacks can only rise to a certain managerial level, but comprise a larger percentage of workers who are subjected to more physically demanding work. One of the men details how, once he applied for a higher leadership position, the vacancy was withdrawn. On another occasion in 2020, the suit states a white manager approached a group of about 30 Black employees saying their supervisor, who he referred to as master, wanted them inside. When informed the language was offensive, the manager ignored them. I think MOT has a lot of wind or something. The plant's rank and file employees fear a culture of retaliation and reprisal if they report discriminatory conduct within the plant, the suit states. The 5 men also allege that Hyundai keeps a list of employees who make discrimination complaints, and that employees can be denied promotion, disciplined, demoted, or terminated for making complaints. This despite the Hyundai workforce being staffed by about 85% Black employees. I'm sorry, it's not the people at the border that's causing Black men to lose out on opportunities and upward mobility. It's white conservatives in Alabama, another conservative controlled state. One challenged several disciplinary measures and was told by other employees, they want you fired. Another contends he was terminated after disciplinary measures that were harsher than for his white co-workers for similar infractions. Another took an extended medical leave. When he returned, he was told he had been reassigned to chassis marriage, one of the more physically demanding jobs, which does not align with company policy following medical leave, the suit states. Arthur Davis, who was co-representing the men, said the 4 still employed at Hyundai are risking good paying jobs by standing up for their rights, he said. They are frustrated, but they refuse to work on a plantation and no one is their master, Davis said. You see how that works? Mr. Lil Big Nate, Mr. Conservative, this is what goes on. And these guys in this space, hold on a second, Lou. These guys in this space will have you believe that voting conservative, voting for the GOP is going to get you big opportunities, okay? A lot of Black men can't fall for the okie doke anymore. There's too many black men in this space who are selling fantasies and fanciful ideas about what it means to be a conservative on that side. And that the Luciferian left, the people at the border, and the trans and the LGBTQ and the George Soros, the Bilderberg, you know, the Illuminati, all these people are working against black men, all while it's white managers, white men. All the while it's union construction, racial equity jobs being taken away from black men, okay? Black men are the ones doing most of the labor in these jobs, so I refer to that. All the while, it was conservative policies that that brought these quote unquote illegal immigrants into this country. None of these guys talk about this. Go ahead, Lou, finish up.
Yeah, all I was gonna say, man, that's why I was gonna say that's why I call it the clanosphere. They operate like the clanosphere, man. It's crazy, like, you know, they just
clanosphere. Wow.
Yeah, man, it's like they just
clanosphere, damn.
Yeah, the black clanosphere, man. That's how they operate, though. Like they operate, you know what I mean? Just the feverish anger toward y'all heard that panel. Y'all heard it, the anger, he sound like he want to get a whip out. Like he want to lynch somebody, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah, but he wouldn't be talking like that if you got him to his face. He wouldn't.
Yeah,
be
that's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. Yeah.
Let's keep it a buck. He's on.
I mean, but they go to places where they can routinely get the stuff off, and they don't even bother trying to go into other places to try to defend their actual points. I mean, you know, when we had one of these individuals jump up here, he jumped up here, didn't know what he was disagreeing with. We had to inform him on what he was disagreeing with. We had to provide all the background to what he was disagreeing with so that way he could just say, no, I don't believe that. So now we're shouldering the conversation for ourselves and for them when they jump up and they don't know what to talk about. Crazy. That's where we are, man.
Yeah, man. It's quite unfortunate.
My thing is, it's like we get hung up in conversations when somebody adequately points out the problem, something that black people are doing that they need to stop doing.
No, it's not adequately pointing anything out when you're wrong. That's where you need to start from. You were wrong to point anything out to begin with.
It should be just consensus agreement. Like, yeah, we probably should stop doing that.
Yeah, no, we can do that,
instead it turns into but Republicans this. It's
no,
like,
I never said but Republicans. He was suggesting, he was painting Republicans in the right, the conservative party, as in the interest of black people generally, and they always have, and we're just too stupid to notice it, and we need to vote for them.
They're the more useful tool out of the whole party. That's
in
the whole
certain
deal.
circumstances like immigration, but if you go through the plethora of political agendas,
black people been Republican first and foremost, man.
Thank
They
you. The party is not oriented around the best interest of black people.
Their first stand.
Black people are 14. The conservative party is not oriented around the interests of black people. When has that ever been the case?
Right.
Y'all are saying we benefit by proxy.
You see, it's all about you have to appeal to my blackness. You have to appeal to my blackness, or you're disqualified.
One second,
Nate. People on the right aren't going to appeal to your blackness.
Hey, Nate, one second.
You don't have to get over it, buddy.
Really quickly.
You don't even. You guys don't even have a.
Hey, really quickly, because I haven't said a whole lot. You painted the whole panel as this, right? But I'm like, I haven't said my particular leaning or whatever. You said when you came up, I assume. All right. So please, don't assume. It asked directly, and then I'm like, look, I don't care what somebody does in their personal life, but then whenever somebody does certain things, it starts affecting me, and I do not want to see black people be a permanent underclass. But you know what? Them Soul Train lines after inauguration and all that stuff. Hey, look, you celebrated saving this country from the other side. And all I would say is, hey, withhold your vote and actually go to the table like Ice Cube tried to do and got shouted down by members in our community.
I want to say this in response to this brother real quick.
It's a lack of understanding. Lack of understanding.
Like, okay. I'm not sure who that guy is, and you don't need to tell me. Name me a time within American history where that has actually worked. That's a simple question that I have, and you could take all day to explain it, whoever this individual was. I just want you to explain to me, when has that ever worked? Listen, it's a democracy. If you don't show up, you don't get power assigned to you like you're in an actual parliamentary system. So the problem is on thinking that I'm taking more action by not voting than to take action by actually living in a democracy and actually participating in it. And that's what happens when you listen to these people online. You actually think you're making some woke ass point when it doesn't work that way. And it never has.
Mm-hmm. And it never will.
If they're getting the maximum out of you by you not showing up, why on earth would they try to make it easier for you to show up to take their power away?
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to tell these dummies. I was saying the Republican Party wins when black people don't vote.
Yeah.
When you look at Trump's win his election, you look at it how Hillary didn't get she didn't win Florida, Ohio, but then you also look at it like minorities and black people especially, they didn't come out for Hillary like they did Obama. It's just essentially what it was,
No.
like it's. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What you just named, Lou, was those are battleground states. Okay, those are battleground states, and you need those states to win. If you don't win those states, you're pretty much SOL. And so these guys don't even realize what they're saying. Abdicating your political power by staying home is a strategy. That's because they were never invested in the first place, and they don't even understand the system that they're playing in. But they think that they're making these sort of critical analysis and really good decisions, and this is a blow to the left. No, you fool. They didn't talk to Ice Cube because they didn't need to. Ice Cube is no one of importance. Okay. The height of Ice Cube is Are We There Yet? Whatever that movie was with, this guy
Friday.
driving around with kids for Christmas.
Friday.
Yeah, Craig. This is what black men find in terms of this is what black men are gravitating towards when it comes to leadership.
I bet
Avatar.
But these same people get mad at LeBron for doing anything with the president, though, right? You know what I'm saying? They'll tell LeBron to shut up and dribble. But Ice Cube, they love some Ice Cube all of a sudden. Man, see, Ice Cube was trying to tell y'all, he was trying to help black folks and all this. It's just stupid.
Ice Cube can't deliver any troops. Any troops. He can't deliver anything. And go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
No, but and they said, let me just finish playing this.
That a significant portion of our race is going to be just that. If we keep trying to drag this carcass with us, we're not going to get to the level of success that we, the black people that are actually invested in this country, should get. No other group, no other race, no other community tries to drag its ne'er-do-wells with them. Nobody but us. We got to let the trash go. And I'm not classifying blacks as trash who live in a bad neighborhood. There's plenty of wonderful people in the neighborhood, but they're going to have to see the black men that are on this beautiful, shining city on a hill being successful with their families, making money. Not that they don't occasionally deal with things that might be based on race. I don't give a fuck. If it comes up, I'll deal with it. If it comes up, I'll address the white boys that are trying to do something to me. But sitting around thinking and wondering if the white boogeyman is coming to get me all the time, I'll never be successful.
I don't disagree with that.
We have to acknowledge there is a portion of Black America that is toast. It is finished. They mire in victimhood and grievance culture. Let them die off.
Hey, Hood said something like a while ago, right? It was on a different panel, and he said, why would somebody give you anything when all you do is basically give them your ass to kiss? I mean, seriously, like why would I do anything for you if all you do is talk shit about me?
Yeah,
seriously.
What did the illegals do to you guys, though? What did they do to you? Anybody had a bad experience?
Whoa. Yes, I can. Illegals are draining the resources allocated for
personally.
Illegals. No, it is personal.
It's not personal.
It is
It's not
personal, sir. It is personal. Illegals are putting horrific, undue financial and legal burdens on our school system. What are you talking about? They
That's not
drag down.
personal, Nate.
They drag down the wages.
That's not a personal argument.
It is personal. I'm a taxpayer. It is personal.
What?
I'm a taxpayer, sir.
Okay, that's a thin argument.
Little Big Nate has a point. He does have a point.
Yeah.
You got a point on that. It is in a roundabout way personal, but in general, I say asking that's not where he was going when he asked that question. What do they do to you personally? That's basically saying you can't look at this thing on a macro scale and see a large scale problem and see that no, that's not best for this country or that's not best for Black people. You gotta, if you can't say what did the illegal immigrant personally do to bother you directly in your personal life, then you shouldn't have no problem with it. That's a real basic lowbrow way of thinking.
We've always had overran schools. If you live in a city, you've always had a school that was overran and wasn't up to par compared to other communities.
They were overran with Black kids, and I'm selfish like that.
That's how I interpreted that question.
I think black people as politically we just at certain levels it's not anything personal against immigrants. I think we can look at the political landscape, look at the economy, and look in some ways we can see how illegal immigration negatively conflicts with the interest of the Black community. It's nothing personal.
How can we still call this illegal after they just opened up the borders 2 days ago?
The evidence of that?
Real quick, another problem. Real quick, I'll shut up. Another problem is that these illegals make all this money in America, and they send 60% of their money back to their countries of origin.
Facts.
They don't even keep the money they make here.
That's freedom.
What?
This is this is mental retardation on steroids, man. It's just it's hard to describe what's going on here with these guys. That's why I don't mess with them. I stay away from them. Anyway, you guys go ahead and break this down. This is beyond belief. But go ahead, guys.
No, I think we're done for right now. I mean, any more it would be uncivilized at this point. I just wanted to bring up the piece about earlier because the Kansas City Chief guy brought up, I'm not sure who brought that up, but Ice Cube's contract with Black America. He doesn't even have it on his website anymore. Just to be quite honest with you, it's gone. It doesn't even exist there anymore. That's how bad it was. But PR Newswire was able to capture it last year to analyze it. And so, number one, a bill to guarantee Black opportunity representation, bank lending reform, federal funding of baby bonds, Federal Reserve and government pensions, finance oversight, should be financial oversight, personal data and credit, prison reform, judicial reforms, Police Reform Act, FCC licensing of public airwaves, Confederate monuments and institutions, AGP program for education and jobs, Black responsibility. So in reality, although they advocate for Ice Cube speaking to, the administration, they didn't actually read the contract of Black America. It's a liberal document. So for all the conservative talk and bluster that they were pumping up on the panel, they actually, again, don't know what they're talking about. But it doesn't surprise me that this is going on in the Manosphere, especially on Bernard's panel, when you allow these type of men up on the panel. I know they're in the chat room listening because, the numbers have gone up. And so the link is in the chat. It's at the top of the chat. It is a Zoom link. Make sure you have Zoom installed. Make sure you have updated your Zoom client so that you can join and actually defend some of this foolery that we heard on the panel today. What's the excuse for blaming undocumented people who are filing for amnesty that was cultivated by the Conservative Party and the godfather of conservatism, which is Ronald Reagan? I don't understand how these guys can dance all around this. I mean, I get Bernard is just a host, but a lot of these guys are running around saying things without any sort of documented information, no citing of sources, no nothing. Everything's opinion based, and you're not allowed to question them. But you know they get to question you, and you don't have to. And then you're forced to actually provide all this documentation and sources. I think that this is insane. That's what this black male space has dissolved into. Anybody else have anything they want to say before closing out?
Man, they bet you don't head with that. I hate how you gotta always, you always under the microscope, you always being interrogated, you know, and their responses, look it up, or I ain't even voting. You know what I mean? It's just totally, you got to provide the links, the articles, read for them. You got to do the statistical analysis. You got to break down the gas prices. You got to put up bar charts. You have to describe the Southern strategy and do all this shit. All they got to do is just troll and giggle and laugh and snicker and sniggle and yell. It's just that's a good point, man. This is tiring. You gotta pretty much.
No, go right ahead, Lou. Please finish.
No, I guess, but I know you shutting it down, man. I'm gonna get up out of here, man. It was good, Chop. I'm glad glad y'all did this breakdown. Had to pull up for this one. Yeah, man. Y'all have a good one, man. Y'all hit the like button, subscribe on your way out, man. Y'all have a good one.
All right, peace, Lou.
Susan Lou, good to have you, man.
Any closing thoughts, Nagone?
No, Mike. I think I think you taught us one out the frame again, and listen, thanks for inviting me up. Thank you.
You know, these things are consistently going to be the same until you pick up a book and actually read and understand the history. So that way you can stop being held hostage by entertainers. That's all it is. Like, this stuff is literally should have been taught in 7th grade. Everybody else can respond to it in kind, and I'm not sure why these people are not. So I don't know how to deal with it.
Right.